Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the SRAW. Ever since I saw this weapon announced for Season 7, I've been somewhat intrigued where is it going to fit into the meta alongside Blizzard's TV missile, the RPG, the M5. What is really going to set it apart from those other launchers and make it worthwhile picking up as an engineer, I guess. In this video, we're going to take a look at another video that's very interesting because I'm not sure about you guys, but personally, I haven't unlocked this one yet. It's pretty deep set in the battle pass, so as we get more into that and more people start to unlock it, I think we're going to start to see whether this weapon or this gadget rather is worth picking up here. I hope you guys enjoyed the last video on the channel. It was, of course, an April Fool's joke. Sorry to any of you guys who thoroughly believed it. No, there is not going to be any replenishing rocket launchers or nuclear bombs in Season 7, unfortunately. But I hope it gave you a bit of giggle and a bit of entertainment nonetheless. Guys, as always, if you do enjoy the content here on the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Lots more to come on Season 7 and beyond. And as always, thank you guys so much for your support. So let's jump straight into the video here. And this one is called 2042's New Rocket Sucks and How to Fix It. It's by a guy called Eclipse FPS, really nice guy, so go and hit him up, give him a sub. He does some Battlefield content, and he also does some Tarkov content, I believe, as well. But this guy's obviously gotten the SRAW unlocked here, and he's had some experiences with it. So as somebody who doesn't have the weapon yet, I thought it would be interesting to see what this guy has to say about it. So let's jump in here.
This thing, well, it sucks.
Oh.
Welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about the newest rocket launcher added into Battlefield 2042, the Predator SRAW. This weapon hails from Battlefield 2 and 4 fame for being a super solid rocket launcher that
I actually had no idea this weapon was in Battlefield 2. I guess I'm not far back enough. Anyway, sorry.
Guides itself to
I'll
where
not
you point your
much.
crosshair. And in those games, Battlefield 4 especially, it was really fun to use. In this game, on the other hand, well, to say they fucked it up would be putting it very lightly. And on my end, it's honestly really funny because initially when I heard they were adding the SRAW in, I was really worried. As someone who enjoys using flying vehicles and already understands the sheer power of the TV missile, I was like, if they're putting in another rocket launcher and this one doesn't have unlimited ammo, it's probably going to be OP as shit, be really frustrating, and just generally be a nuisance.
That's sort of exactly what I thought, right? When they announced the SRAW for Season 7, one of the first reactions that I had was, what is the point? If you already have a TV missile in there, which is far easier to use than a SRAW, and it already one-shots the Nightbird, the jet, the stealth helicopter, it does 80% damage to attack helicopters as well, then why in God's name would you take a SRAW to take down their vehicle when you can just use a TV? And then on the ground vehicle side, you've already got the RPG and the M5, so where does the SRAW really come into play? What is there that's going to entice you into selecting this gadget?
And I couldn't have been more wrong, and I'm kind of upset that I couldn't have been more wrong because the SRAW is just completely useless. And that's not an exaggeration. This is the worst rocket in the game by a significant margin.
I hope he's going to show us
the whole
the
wire-guided
damage,
property of this right off the bat and just talk stats. All of the data that I'm going to be referencing is going to be taking into consideration that you're using Crawford with this rocket launcher because, well, Horus is completely useless and people who use him are bad. Sorry, not sorry. And having that extra rocket is integral to playing the engineer class. So, just as a general rule of thumb, I'm using Crawford. Anyways, the SRAW starts you off with 3 rockets. Already off to a pretty rough start. With those 3 rockets, you can deal 27 damage to the side of a tank. Considering the 3 rocket total, that ends you at 81 total available damage on the SRAW, meaning that with this rocket launcher, you are physically incapable of destroying a tank by yourself with just the rocket launcher alone.
So I had been planning to do a video of my own. I'm not sure I'll do that anymore, but once I unlocked the SRAW, I did want to do, like I did for the RPG, a comparison of damage between the RPG, the M5, and the SRAW to see what's really worth taking the SRAW, why it's really worth taking the SRAW in those situations. I believe 27 damage is the same amount of damage that the M5 does. You get 3 rockets total, and I'm assuming depending on where you hit the vehicle, just like with the M5 and the RPG, you're going to do more damage. But it seems right off the bat here like the SRAW does the same damage to a tank as the M5. And considering you have to guide it there, well, that's not really that good.
terms of the reload time, it takes 5 seconds to reload the SRAW and fire another shot. Now, moving over to the recoilless M5, this rocket launcher has 4 rockets, one more than the SRAW.
Oh, right, yeah, of course, because
it
you've got
also does 27 damage,
there.
identical to the SRAW, but because of the extra rockets, you can do 108 total damage to a tank, being able to solo a tank by yourself if you hit all of your rockets and they don't block any. Once again, identical to the SRAW is a 5-second reload. I think you're probably starting to see the problem.
Yeah.
The RPG, my personal rocket of choice if I'm playing anything other than Liss, which itself is a bit of a rarity, you get 3 rockets just like with the SRAW. But unlike the SRAW, the RPG deals 35 damage for a 105 total, which is a little bit less than the recoilless, but you need to hit the tank with less rockets total, which generally speaking is what you want to be doing. Sharing the reload time of the previous 2 with 5 seconds puts the RPG at basically the highest DPS available. Finally, the TV missile, you start with 2 rockets, but you technically have unlimited because it recharges over time. Those rockets do 27 damage, identical to the recoilless M5 and the SRAW, for 54 total damage in one sitting, but obviously they come back, so it's technically unlimited with a bit of an asterisk. But regardless of all of that, the point is that the SRAW statistically is the worst rocket launcher in the game.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, at least when it comes to taking out tanks here, what he's saying is you can solo a tank as Crawford with the extra rockets if you're taking an RPG or if you're taking the M5, but not if you take the SRAW. And just in general, it just has lower DPS over time than all of the other launches in the game. So if your goal is to be the anti-armor engineer, don't take the SRAW. Not only that, but you also have to guide it to the target. I'm not sure if it stops being guided. I think in the previous games, the way it worked is if you let the rocket loose and then you switched away to your sidearm or your primary, it would just go in a straight line wherever it was guiding. But obviously, if you keep it equipped and then you do like a 180 and you spin around, then it's going to start to change its trajectory and probably miss the target. So you're also going to have to stand there out in the open, actually guiding it to the target, risking your life.
Like, just flat out. It's the worst. But some of you might be saying, well, Eclipse, the reason that the SRAW is the worst statistically is because it's wire guided. And so it means that you're not likely to miss your shots and you can turn the rocket in midair, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so let's talk about that guiding part, shall we? Well, to put it bluntly, if you're fighting against ground vehicles, all of the rocket launchers have extremely fast travel times. So if you're missing rockets on anything that isn't maybe the RAM,
skill issue.
That's just a skill issue. I don't know what else to tell you.
Exactly.
That just flat out shouldn't happen.
It's true.
I suppose technically the SRAW is good at sitting on a hill 8 miles away, sniping at tanks, but even then you can't kill the tank because you don't have enough rockets. So,
what's the point?
I don't know. But I know what you're all saying. You're saying, Eclipse, the real point of the SRAW is to meme on air vehicles. Well, now we're going to get into exactly why trying to hit air vehicles with this is just a waste of your time. And what it ends up coming down to is that the amount of skill required to take out air vehicles with this is so disproportionate to just using TV missiles.
Sorry, just before we get into this next bit about the air vehicles, it does look there from the way he was using it that you can just fire it, and if you reload it, then it just dumb fires. So it's only being guided whilst you're holding your aim down sights button and actually guiding the missile.
That again, it's just completely worthless. Number one, and one of the biggest issues hands down, is DICE in their infinite wisdom decided to make it so that way this rocket launcher had like a 5x zoom or a 4x zoom attached to it. Good God, why?
Wow.
This means that if anything is even remotely
you can't even see the helicopter
trying to fire at, you literally cannot see it in your peripherals to try to guide the rocket to it. Using this rocket launcher is unironically just guesswork. And if you're just going to be doing guesswork anyway, then why wouldn't you just use a different rocket that has better stats? This whole zoom thing makes absolutely no sense.
Oh my
God, it's not even just close range, even at far range.
So, like, this launcher clearly is made to target air vehicles at long ranges. That's what it's generally been used for. In past games, I'm sure that's the role of it in this game. Similar to Lizz's TV missile. Again, Lizz's TV missile is already very easy to use. But you can see here by the sheer zoom that is on that a vehicle that is that far away you just have no chance in hell of guiding that missile towards the vehicle. And a lot of these helicopters haven't even been moving that much. Imagine if you're trying to target a Nightbird that's pulling evasive maneuvers. It's kind of like aiming at something with a sniper scope. If you've ever tried that in game, you've aimed at a heli with a sniper, a 6x scope, and you try to track him. It's really, really hard at those sorts of ranges. So why they've put this kind of a zoom scope on there, I just don't understand it. Maybe like a 1x zoom or a 2x zoom or a variable zoom that you can, manually adjust yourself would be better.
You need to literally have the rocket outside of your view a lot of the time in order to guide it on target.
Yeah.
Which is just horrible. Sometimes while I was using it, I felt like people might just feel bad for me because there were several times where I was trying to shoot them with the rocket and they were like, here, let me just give it to you, man. And they just commit suicide. Because I suppose watching me flounder around with this terrible rocket launcher trying to hit them while they can't hit me either made them so embarrassed and felt so bad for me that death was the better alternative. The other major, massive issue that just makes me scratch my head and like I have no words for is the fact that DICE decided that the SRAW was going to be too OP. So they added a visual and audio feedback to the rocket, meaning that when pilots hear it coming, they can just move out of the way. You should be seeing.
You are kidding me. Okay, so I thought the one saving grace here, the one thing that would maybe make a difference and make it have a slight advantage over the TV missile, is that you could perhaps not hear it coming. Just like we had in Battlefield 4, I used to be a big attack jet pilot in those days, and the SRAW was the bane of my existence because you could barely see it, you couldn't hear it, all of a sudden, boom, you just die. But guess what? It was actually really hard to hit those shots. I couldn't do it, but there were players out there who could. And I thought that could possibly be the saving grace of the SRAW here, but apparently not. You can hear it whistling through the sky just like you can with a Liz TV missile. And I think this zoom thing here, if you think about the way you use TVs and the way that you use SRAWs really, you kind of use them the same way you would with an RPG. That is to say, you want to lead your target, right? You want to shoot at where your target is going and then use the guidance system of that missile to tweak it onto the target. You don't want to be shooting at where the target is now, because by the time the missile gets there, you're going to have missed the shot, right? That's the way you use missiles, but it works fine with missiles because you have this wide angle as you're moving towards the target, and as the target gets closer, the missile also gets closer, the camera gets closer, and everything just kind of lines up. That's how you use missile targets. You line up the center of your camera with the target, and if things align, your missile's going to connect. You can't do that with the SRAW because if you zoom in with this 6x, 5x, whatever it is scope here and you fire, you're not going to see anything in the sky where you've just shot your missile. So you basically have to cross your fingers and almost hope that the helicopter flies into that zone. This is, I don't know.
Two clips on screen right about now. The first is going to be the sound that you hear when the rocket is fired at you, which is very similar to that of the TV missile, which people are used to hearing and used to avoiding. And the second is this big-ass red diamond that comes up whenever someone fires this. As far as I can tell, you can see the red diamond no matter where you are on the entire map. How did that get through testing?
What?
How? When someone fires a TV missile at you, they don't see a big red diamond coming towards them. Sure, they can see the missile itself, but at least if it's coming from behind the person, all they have to rely on is the audio feedback. With this, you see the diamond show up in the corner of your screen, and you're like, well, someone's firing a SRAW at me.
What?
Time
You
to
see
do
it?
some evasives.
Oh my god, you see
and
it
once
from the side
again,
of the screen,
unlike the
dude.
TV missile, trying to course correct if someone's trying to avoid your rocket is a lost cause. It's not gonna happen. If someone's trying to avoid a SRAW, give up.
Yeah. You can see here all of these shots that he is hitting. The helicopter is basically hovering there in the sky in the same area, and that's the only reason that he's hitting these targets here. They are none the wiser at all. And just to clarify, what he's saying is that if you're getting shot by the SRAW, you actually get a UI icon pop up. Similar to when you got locked on, you get it around the side of your screen if it's out of your field of view, so you know if you're getting SRAW'd from the side or from behind, and all you need to do is pull a slight evasive maneuver, and it's going to be super easy to dodge it.
you've lost already. On a bit of a more minor note, the rockets also tended to have random heart attacks while I was firing them, probably because either something quickly entered the view of the camera, or I have no idea. I only caught one of these on camera, but I mean, just look at it. How did that happen? I have no idea. And I also had a bug, which I didn't get footage of, but happened a few times, and I don't know why it happens, where I would fire it, and I'd be holding right-click to zoom, and it would just unzoom me and start reloading the rocket, and then I couldn't turn it, and that is a very large problem, obviously. And you know what the worst part about all of these things is that Battlefield 4's SRAW had literally none of these problems. They had the perfect template and still managed to fuck it up. Battlefield 4's SRAW did comparatively less damage than the rest of the rocket launchers, but it reloaded faster than them to try to make up for it, on top of the fact that there was no huge obvious warning when you were about to get hit by one. And that was balanced out by the fact that while it did a ton of damage to helicopters, attack helicopters in particular, it didn't outright one-shot kill them. Now, I do feel like it should have one-shot killed them, as the attack helicopter in BF4 is, well, it's a problem.
A little bit abusive.
But regardless, they had the template and they just didn't use it, I guess. I'm not sure. As a bit of a final note on SRAW problems, just like the one from BF4 and the tow missile in this game, when it first fires out, it's very slow and then it speeds up, which makes hitting close-range targets, once again, even harder than it has to be. At the end of the day, and this is not an exaggeration, I promise you, there were several times, and you'll be seeing them on screen, where I just said fuck it, and I pulled out a railgun after shooting several rockets at helicopters and killed the guy out of the helicopter with more success than blowing them up with the rocket launcher. What the fuck? The railgun gives you 140 tries and actually relies on consistency and skill instead of guesswork. Oh, and it also doesn't play a huge loud sound and give people a big red icon while you're shooting at them with it. Who would have guessed? If you're looking to just destroy a singular ground vehicle by yourself, your best bet has a general tendency to be using free-fire rocket launchers with the AP grenade launcher. That way you have easily enough damage to destroy a tank as long as it's not being actively repaired. And on top of that, if helicopters get too close for comfort, you can always shoot them down with your free-fire rocket launcher if you're good enough,
you would honestly
or if
probably
you're
have
lucky enough.
More
and considering
success.
the SRAW might as well be luck-based, and the free-fire rocket launchers are luck-based, well, the choice is obvious. At times, it felt like using a repair tool would just be better than trying to use the SRAW.
Wow, this guy has zero awareness, man. You have to be amazed how often this can work. Oz destruction.
Amazing. Mission complete.
But the real kick in the balls when it comes to the SRAW is 1000%, well, the TV missiles. It's LIS. I don't think this is an unpopular opinion by the upper echelon of players in 2042, but LIS is the best engineer.
Yeah,
just bar none.
100%.
The fact that you're able to run a rocket launcher and C5 is absolutely massive, because it means that you can solo vehicles by yourself with the C5, as well as be able to do half of a vehicle's health with your TV missiles, which are always coming back. So you don't need to rely on ammo, which trying to get ammo from a Battlefield player is like trying to get blood from a stone. So that's usually a bit of a lost cause if you're not directly playing with friends who can give you ammo. On top of that, the TV missile is hands down the best thing at destroying air vehicles, because unlike the SRAW, you don't need any line of sight. Unlike the SRAW, you have technically unlimited attempts to try it, and unlike the SRAW, if someone is trying to avoid your rocket, you can adjust accordingly. So it becomes a bit of a mind game on which way the helicopter is going to dodge and how much. And if you get good enough with the TV missile, you can start to predict those things, especially when trying to take into consideration how the enemy is flying and how they've dodged the last time.
So this is exactly what I was saying before, right? The Lissile, it can be difficult to hit those really, really good pilots, I think. You know, they get used to Lissiles, but you can also get used to the pilots. There are really, really so many ways a helicopter can flip, and the more experience you get doing it, the more you can kind of read what the helicopter is likely to do, and sometimes it's just picking your moments, maybe when the helicopter's flying into cover, he's just popped his flares, or whatever it may be. I would have thought the only real saving grace or role for the SRAW in the game would be to take down those top tier, top echelon players, people like Ash, people like Flex Lanes, if you guys are familiar with them over on Twitch, who are just used to dodging missiles all day. Yes, it can be hard to hit those players with missiles. So maybe a SRAW that was completely undetectable the same way an RPG or an M5 is, but still guided somewhat, could be a nice way to take out those players. But apparently, Dice didn't think that was a good idea.
The SRAW, on the other hand, well, like I said, it's RNG. And sure, the SRAW can one-shot attack helicopters, but a savvy player is just going to take a railgun, shoot the helicopter enough to the point where it gets one-shot by a TV missile, and then TV missile it. You get the same result. Or, let me fix that. You get the better result because you actually kill the helicopter instead of just firing 3 rockets at it and then giving up because the rocket is ass. Before I conclude today's video, I want to talk about what I would do to the SRAW, because I actually think it could be an interesting choice that you have to make in the game when it comes to rockets, rather than the dumpster fire it is right now. Number 1 is that the zoom needs to be lowered to a 1x, just like it was in Battlefield 4. I don't know how this 4x got greenlit, but it's gotta go, because it makes using it borderline impossible. Number 2, the visual and audio feedback needs to go. It's already easy enough to dodge these missiles if you see them coming at you. It absolutely does not need a giant red diamond on top of an audio cue, so that way pilots can just avoid them for free. It's stupid, it makes no sense, and it shouldn't be there. And finally, I think that this rocket needs to reload the fastest out of all of the rocket launchers. You don't have enough rockets in order to one-shot a tank. And the way that you reload the SRAW is literally throwing it on the ground and pulling out another one. That shouldn't take 5 seconds. This could be a really interesting rocket launcher if all those changes were implemented, but in truth, I know they won't be, and this is just going to remain garbage for the rest of the life cycle of the game, which admittedly is probably not going to be for very much longer. And, well, that's the video. I don't have anything else to say on the topic. I know this video is going to massively underperform because a lot of my audience is from my main channel and the other audience is from Tarkov, so me talking about Battlefield 2042 is kind of a lost cause, but I felt strongly about the topic, so I just felt inclined to make a video. With that though, I am done. So if you enjoyed the video, you can leave a like and subscribe. If you didn't, don't. And with all that being said, have a wonderful day night wherever you are, and see you guys next time.
So, really, really good video. I feel like this guy, he hit the nail on the head here. Eclipse FPS. Give him a sub, guys. I believe one thing he maybe didn't touch on here, maybe I missed it, but when it comes to the range, I believe the Lissile only has a 475 meters range. The SRAW, I'm not sure what the range is. I don't think he mentioned that. So that is perhaps one saving grace, is that you can hit targets that are possibly further away than the Lissile. But apart from that, there really is no saving grace for this gadget. And one of the reasons I wanted to broach on this subject is at the moment we're not hearing too much about it because the majority of players haven't unlocked it. Me personally, I'm somewhere around level 25 or so on the battle pass. I assume most of you guys are as well. And really, I think unless you skipped tiers and paid your way through the battle pass, nobody has really unlocked this yet. Or maybe you've just been really playing the crap, out of Season 7. So I wanted to get this out there really in the hopes that DICE try to do something about this ASAP before everybody starts to unlock it. They realize that it's trash and how big of a problem it is, because having a new gadget in a season that is basically the worst pick out of all of the launchers isn't really a great way to entice your players into enjoying a new season, is it? I can totally understand when the new weapons of the season come out, why those weapons are, borderline overpowered, because that, in my opinion, is better. It's the lesser of two evils than making those weapons woefully underpowered and just uninteresting to use. And that, I believe, is where the SRAW sits at the moment. So guys, leave me your thoughts down below. Let me know what you think about it. If you've unlocked it and you've used it, I would especially be interested to hear about it. If you guys enjoyed today's video, leave a like down below, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you all in the next one.